One, fight! Good evening, guys. It's Wednesday, March 2nd. You hear that in my video that I didn't even let my own video play. That's hilarious. I fooled myself with it. It's Wednesday, March 2nd. I'm so happy to be here. It's me, your buddy, Gabe. I'm here with my buddy Shanth and Jetty. We're going to be talking about Big Trouble in Little China, which I almost always call Showdown in Little Tokyo. In my head, I have to fight myself every time. I'm in full campaign mode. I have been on YouTube day and night for 2 weeks, and I'm having a blast. I'm so happy my friend is here. How are you doing, Shanth? I almost hit remove just now. My finger was hovering over remove instead of adding you in. Double impact.
I'm doing great,
Shanth.
brother. I'm doing great. I just tweeted out double impact while the trailer I was frantically getting that tweeted out. And it's great to see my brother Jeremy, Lord Crackhead 33, and I see Love God Bible Truth. Hail, brother! It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, man. So before we get into the movie, this great movie that I saw it for the first time, like only 2-3 years ago. I'd always wondered about it since I was a kid. I saw that big face where the one guy explodes. We'll get to it. But what is going on in Shanth world besides this movie? What's going on with you right now?
Shanth world has been just trying to keep, as much as I can, keep the grills open at the CG Waffle Lodge we do late night. I'm going to be shipping out Narwhal's, the painting I did for Narwhal, the commission I did. And then I've also got him coming on my show tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and talk about his campaign. And then I'm working on a trailer for yours truly right now. And I'm doing lots of cool stuff because really excited about your book. And it's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah. Sean showed me a little bit of a trailer he's working on for me for Truth, Justice, American Way, and it looks gorgeous. So very happy to hire you. It's really fun to be in this space where we're independent creators. We can hire friends, people we trust and respect their the quality of the work. So absolutely excited. I'm going to be you said Narwhal at 6 Eastern?
Yeah, 6 o'clock tomorrow Eastern Standard Time. And man, the biggest thing is that I like, what helps me whenever I'm doing these trailers and doing these videos, it helps when you're really into the project and you know
Right.
the people, and being on that launch stream, and really kind of understanding what it's like to hire, from what I could tell anyway, a truly evil inker, uh, who
Right.
I never would have suspected capable
Right.
of
Right.
such
Gary
cruelty
Martin.
to our Aaron Lepresti. I was like, oh my,
Oh my gosh. That was just the
that
meanest
was
thing
awesome.
ever.
That was
Oh my
brilliant.
God.
That was brilliant.
Yeah,
But
Gary Martin is inking Truth, Justice, American Way, and he's been
genius.
friends with Aaron Lepresti, Wraith of God, which I'm also working on
Yep.
for decades. They've been friends, and he really hurt Aaron's feelings back in the Heroes Reborn Image Comics Marvel crossover. Would you like to regale us with that, Shanth?
Oh, I'm happy to. I'm happy to. So, I guess they're sharing a studio together at the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, there was a studio situation, and they all
Yeah.
knew each other and worked together. This is 95 or 96, I think
hmm
Heroes Reborn happened.
So I guess Aaron call, or sorry, I guess Gary calls Aaron and says, leaves a message saying, "This is Matt Hawkins from, I guess, Extreme Studios, where
Right.
Rob's studio. This was one of the big, people at Rob's studio, Extreme. And I'm just calling because we're interested in talking to you about doing some Heroes Reborn stuff with Marvel, hiring you on to do it. And this is huge, a huge, exciting news. But it was Aaron pretending to be Matt Hawkins. And so what ended up happening was Aaron called up Extreme Studios. He didn't have a chance to realize this was the joke, which I guess it was assumed he would figure it out somehow, but he didn't. So he called up this poor secretary who was working at Extreme Studios and was like, "Yes, I'm returning Matt Hawkins' call." And the person was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "No, he just called and left a message." And it was, and he was telling the story. And so then Aaron, I mean, of course, Aaron then gets the call and realizes it's a joke. And has that, everybody around his cubicle could just hear him groaning
Oh,
as the levels of realization of embarrassment. And Aaron, I will say, was kind enough to say that I believe that Gary was kind enough to call Extreme Studios and
right.
explain what had just happened for Aaron. But all these years later, that's where Aaron first learned about the horror.
Right.
Uh,
Oh,
that was
Lord.
terrifying, man.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because Aaron was a puppy. He had
Mhm.
barely been in the business for a few years, and he was working on lower level books. He just finished like
Yeah.
Sludge or something for
hmm
DC, and he gets the call that he's going to be doing Captain America: Heroes Reborn for Rob Liefeld. My favorite part of the story is Aaron calls Gary. He calls his the very victimizer and tells him, "Gary, I got the call," and he's all proud of himself and he's ready to tell Gary the good news. Oh, to be a fly on the wall and see that poor Aaron must have been
What
terrible.
what made me realize, and what I found myself thinking about, was that when people talk about all of these various aspects of CG and anywhere else, and they talk about the kind of ribbings you take, those have been a part of comics and illustration, and or just even sometimes those things actually happen. You
Right.
get the dream call and it falls through, or they're like, "Pack your bags, we'll see you tomorrow," and it's real. I've had that happen.
Where?
And oh, yeah, I don't know how much of the story I can tell, but I was contacted once to do title sequences for a movie,
Oh,
and by some people I know who worked at a place where they do titles. And you'd know the place if I said it. I just don't want to embarrass anybody. But I was waited. I was a newlywed, and they wanted me to fly out. I was going to work there, and I waited till the last minute to tell everybody because I had to tell them where I was going to go. And the next morning, they had the project pulled from them. And this
Eve.
is one of many stories of meeting people, art directors, and having them say, "Oh my God, I love your stuff. It's beautiful." People that probably and have worked for, and having them then sort of go, nothing ever comes of it. Like, this
Oh,
is the school of hard knocks in illustration and comics.
right. Oh my
It's
gosh.
part of it.
Yeah, that's one thing. It reminds me of real estate. Like when you're looking for a home, you
Mhm.
don't fall in love with the home until you sign the papers and buy it. Because you'll
Yep.
find the dream home and then it sells. You find another one, it sells, can fall out of escrow. I feel that way with jobs too. When you get a job, wait till you sign the contract and you start working on it. kind of just manage your enthusiasm there as far as thinking you're over the moon. People are streaming it now. Yeah, I didn't announce or advertise this stream. We just did it. I've been on YouTube all day, guys, all day yesterday. So in between streams, I've been just like, have my lunch, have my dinner, lift weights. So I didn't advertise this one. Sorry. The Lord Crackhead is here. Love God Bible Truth is here. Luna Comics is here. Andrew Wilson is here. And Bane Muller is here. Gentlemen, the 513 says hello. Okay, I don't know. Where is the 513? Do you have any idea where that is?
The area code? I'm trying to think of where that is. 513.
If only we had a machine where we could look up all this relevant data.
Yeah, I know. 513 is let me see, Cincinnati, several other surrounding cities.
Oh, Cincinnati. My heart broke for you on Super Bowl Sunday.
Feeling it.
Yeah. They don't win a lot, and they finally got there and they lost again. That's too bad.
Oh, that stuff. Better to have loved and lost, I guess, but it's, it's, and I have to tell you, I was just reading the Bane mailer, all my ringtones are John Carpenter tracks. Yeah. All of his soundtracks are so iconic. Just a couple of, the Halloween
right off the bat,
all of them. They're so great. You just know them instantly. Yeah. WKRP Cincinnati.
And he's a bit of a musician himself, right? John Carpenter, like he performs.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like a lot of us, man. We do. I wasn't kidding when I made your intro on CG Kings and it said triple threat. We are the most, all of us who are doing this are doing like 30 or 40 different things on our own books and then contracting out for other people's books. Right. And it's something we don't talk a lot about, but I think that it's the only way to get things done, and to break the static friction sometimes of getting new things happening, and there's a phrase we use before we get into this. I'm just trying to buy you some time on your voice. And is there water there, Gabe? I want to know if there's water there.
I'm good.
There we go.
We
got to take care of that golden voice, But there's a phrase that we use a lot of times that I really was thinking about in CG, and people can do what they want to do, but I really want to stop using the phrase myself. And I've been thinking about it when we were talking about this movie. I am a huge offender in this of saying the phrase, you just can't make movies like that anymore. And I think what I've got to do is change it to the phrase, you can't get permission to make movies like that.
Right.
You can't get permission to make comics like that anymore. You have to do it yourself, because that's really what we're talking about when we say can't. We're saying that this bigger organization that decides, is not going to spend their money on it, but it doesn't mean we can't make our money on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't need to ask for permission at all. Who are they to give me permission? Give you permission? Any of the fans? I wanted to answer this really quick. Well Hung and Dung, are you going to do a show on They Live or Escape from LA one day? What about Mad Max? Well Hung and Dung, we did They Live last week, and it was so much fun. So you could go back in my archives here on the channel and check that out. Shanth was fantastic on that. I love that. We're both fanatics for that movie. Yeah. What a great movie that was to review on here. Very fun. Very fun. Escape from LA. I've never seen it. I saw Escape from New York when I was like 10, and it kind of scared me. So it was just too grim and weird. But maybe I should check out Escape from LA. Same guy, and it also has the same star, right?
Yeah, to me, it just looked like, again, it just looked like, Detroit in the 80s or Chattanooga in the 80s after industry left. It was kind of, I was like going, oh, so wait, this is a sci-fi fantasy movie. But yeah, Snake Plissken.
So Big Trouble in Little China. You ready to break this down for us and give us the synopsis real quick? Okay, let me bring up some art here. Share screen. I should have done that before. Here we go. Share, and I will add that in. So here we go.
Yep.
What do you got? This is our
here's what I got. Truck driver Jack Burton on a stop in San Francisco ends up playing a gambling game. I forget, was it Mahjong? I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think it was Mahjong, yes.
Yeah, with his good buddy Wang Chi, and on the way to the airport to pick up his wife that he's worked for decades to bring over and marry, I should say, his fiance. She gets kidnapped, and he is suddenly thrown into a world of Chinese myth come to life in an attempt to rescue Wang Chi's fiance before she is forced with her rare green eyes to marry the demon Lo Pan so that he can attain flesh. How's that?
Right.
Damn, so a lot of stuff.
So that's basically the premise of it.
That's the
That you're in
gist.
normal American city, and suddenly there are two gangs of like ancient Chinese mystical fighters. There's even those three supernatural guys, Thunder, Lightning, and Rain, with the giant hats, and they show up. But yeah, they take a wrong turn, trying to find this woman to rescue her, because this guy Lopan is like an evil guy who was cursed. And if he's able to marry a green-eyed woman and sacrifice her, he can get out of the curse and like come back to life in a regular way as an evil monster or whatever the hell he is. And this movie is bonkers.
It's bonkers.
It's absolutely bonkers, and it has wonderful 1980s practical effects. I don't know. I mean, how old were you when you first saw this one?
I saw this movie in the theaters.
Oh, wow.
So I saw this movie when I was a kid, and I saw it in a theater in Canada. We were on a trip with some old friends of ours, and I saw that in a theater, and it was so funny. Like, I just remember my parents going, "It's PG-13, so wait, is there nudity in it?" And it was like really funny thing to me, because I was thinking of all the stuff in that movie that they're always afraid kids will see. Apparently is a stray nipple, but not somebody exploding, or people skinned alive hanging upside down. Like, I love that nudity is the concern for us.
I've agreed with you for years. And then I just had a shower thought like a month ago, or maybe I was lifting weights, or whenever I'm like in heavy thought and I'm just wondering about things. And I think I figured out the whole violence and nudity thing with children. Now follow me here and tell me if you think this is crazy. Nudity is inappropriate for children because that's not ready for their time of life. When they're older, that's something that is their life. Violence won't traumatize children because violence is a normal part of every creature's life from the beginning. Even like a 1-year-old baby, if a big ugly bug jumped on him, he would use violence to get it off. So violence in the context of our lives makes sense even for young children, and I don't think it traumatizes them. Sexuality is totally inappropriate for children, obviously.
Oh, sexuality, definitely. Yeah,
So
that definitely.
I'm saying maybe that's why we're all inherently okay with letting kids see violence first, you know what I mean, than the random nipple. What do you think of my theory? Crazy or what?
I think that my take on that is topless men or women, as long as it's not gratuitous in a PG-13 movie, is not that big of a deal. Anything south of the border is up for debate. But I remember when there was a little bit of nudity in Fifth Element, and it still got PG-13, and it didn't really, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying gratuitous. I just mean when I was a kid, seeing, like, I know that we see violence in our everyday life, but there's a certain level of gore we've gotten comfortable with. I think it's probably a little, you know what I'm saying. But I mean, like I said, I just always thought it was odd. But it's there's a lot of different ways. I'm seeing Aldous saying Kim Cattrall posed mannequin. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Carl Winslow didn't actually shoot the Amish guy in Witness at the end of Die Hard. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was very anti-Amish, like Shane. Yeah, but it is really funny because for me, I will tell you this. I can't remember exactly how old I was, but watching that movie, I think, and seeing Kim Cattrall, I imagined nudity pretty well in my head. I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she was an absolute looker.
Oh my God, I was in love with her in that.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know what genre this movie is. I mean, it's action and adventure, but it combines like mystical. It's a ton of genres. You know what it really is to me? It's like it's a comic book. It's bonkers. Like a lot of when comic books really embrace their roots, and anything can happen, and it's all about action and adventure. I really feel like that's the genre that this is. It's just it reminds me of a Mike Baron comic book.
It is, yeah. I love you've got them on the screen there. I loved the Three Storms. I drew them like crazy as a kid. I just thought they were the coolest characters.
Right.
It's funny when people talk about the characters that kids gravitate towards and all that other stuff that we talk about. Ridiculous. The characters I identified with in this movie I thought were so cool were the Three Storms. Jack Burton taught me a lot about being a dude. Gotta say, I love that about him. But the character that was me and most of my friends' heroes in that movie was Wang Chi, because he has all the cool sword fight scenes. Like he's sort of the tough guy. And
Right.
that was, one of the things they ran into with the studio interference. They recorded the opening scene with Egg Chen, where he does the electricity with his hands, in post after the fact,
Really?
because they wanted him to build up this great hero, Jack Burton, because they thought that Jack Burton was made to look too much like a fool, which was kind of the
Ooh.
point, to do a movie with a character where they put, the Indiana Jones hat on Wang Chi at the start of the movie, and he's the sidekick. So John
Oh.
Carpenter was trying to do something that was, somewhat ahead of his time. And I think they made a great film, but the studio had no faith in it. They didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a cult hit, cult following for this, because it was definitely a box office failure. I think, the name is weird, but I like weird names. Like my book that I'm working on for one day, Beef Law. I know that's
Yeah.
a really weird name, but I believe in the business end of it and the artistic, that's impossible to ignore. You can't ignore a name like Big Trouble in Little China. It's a crazy name for a movie. It's not quick and snappy and slick. It is a crazy name. It sounds more like a book or a comic. So yeah, I do love the insanity of this. It really wears it on its sleeve. Very unconventional movie. But I remember as a kid though seeing the commercials, and I maybe this is a false memory, but I could have sworn as a kid I saw. Hold on, let me see. I saw this guy in the commercials.
Yeah.
Guess what? This is spoiler. This is one of those guys with the big hats. They're thunder, lightning, and rain. They're like the three furies or whatever. And this guy ends up blowing up later.
He didn't make it. Shortly after this scene. He didn't make it.
I forget which one he was. Was he thunder, lightning, or rain?
He was thunder. Yeah, because that's one of there's some
thunder.
great.
Okay.
There, I swear to God, Mr. David Lopan, a total and absolute acting treasure in this country. The line he had in there, where he looks at me and goes, "Is it too much to ask, Thunder? Kill him!" Like when he sees Jack Burton again, it's just great, man. Yeah, James Hong, man.
Yeah, whenever I see him, I always think of Seinfeld.
Yep.
The episode of the Chinese restaurant on Seinfeld.
Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah, I always think of that when I see him, though. That was such a great episode of that show. But he's fantastic in this as Lopan.
Yeah, he can eat scenery like nobody else, man. He just chews it up. And he's the thing about it that was to me was very cool about this flick. It's one of those things to where when I look at it and I see all of the incredible actors in it, I see the cast, and there are lines in this movie that feel in some ways, I want to say they're ahead of their time, but they were, because I don't believe in that concept, but they were just the kind of lines that people don't even think about, where it goes, where the Chang Sings show up and they're, in their yellow kind of like, bandanas ready to go under. And he goes, "Any of you guys speak English?" And he goes, "Man, who is this guy?" I love that line.
Right. It's line. Weird. He's like an ancient evil entity, but then he has this like modern, impatient 80s like villain to him. It's very. I love that this movie is like just a delicious, like a big melting pot of all these different genres and characters and ideas. I love it. I love the insanity of it. I love that you're watching this and you don't know what the hell is going to happen in this movie. True creativity. So,
it's creative. It's the kind of thing that I will tell you this, guys. Oh my gosh. That's it. Henry Swanson's my name. Excitement's my game. It's so, it's a special flick. Right. And I loved the six steaming bag. Yeah, I love that, man. In the chat, I'm just cracking up. Zeno the Stoic. Yeah, the thing for me what I love about this movie is just the way the back and forth when she goes, "I'd go with you," and he goes, "I know, but there's something wrong with your face." It's just like the back and forth between Kim Cattrall and Kurt Russell, and that is just fantastic.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, what do you think it is nowadays where they're afraid to be vulnerable like this? They're afraid to, because man, this thing is so crazy. You could really embarrass yourself if this thing went wrong. This movie could have gone wrong and been a piece of crap that gets made fun of on like riff tracks, or the other one with the robot and the other. Remember what is that?
Yeah. The
Mystery, could have been a Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that makes people nowadays afraid to like go bold and make crazy ass stuff like this?
Well, I think that it's because the number one, one of the biggest fears that human beings have as social animals. I think it's in some quadrants. I know with women and young women in particular, it's really pronounced. Is the fear of being socially shunned and embarrassed publicly.
Sure.
It's a huge fear people have, and it's not without its reasons, but to the degree that people, and this because you have stand-up comedy is a big part of your family,
Sure.
is that the reason why the idea of stand-up comedy sounds great, the idea of bombing until you get good doesn't. The idea of, I was thinking about this the other day, I still have somewhere my rejection letters from comics, my battle stories from working on projects, my the concept art gigs, memories, and them changing things. Everybody has this stuff, right? But the thing is, if you put yourself out there and you don't and everybody has off days, everybody has tough times, even comedians do. But it's, as a director, as an artist, John Carpenter is still he still carried a lot of anger about how this movie did. And It's interesting. Yeah, because he felt like the studio didn't back it. They didn't advertise it. They just decided it was going to bomb and, blah, blah. But I do think that's part of the game. I mean, you're in the middle, if I can talk about Truth, Justice, American Life for just a minute. You're in the middle of a campaign. Why do people not launch Indiegogos? I can tell you what I was thinking. What if nobody shows up? What if nobody shows up and it's in front of everybody?
Do you know what's
that
hilarious
has crossed my mind?
Mm-hmm. You know what's hilarious about that? I use this StreamYard software and YouTube to have meetings with David Williams, the penciler, co-creator of Truth, Justice, American Way. We don't publish it to YouTube. We just stay off the air, but he can see my screen. He can show me art, show me stuff on the camera. I think it's very useful. Like 2 days before my launch, we had a private talk. I showed him some stuff. I showed him the Indiegogo page. So we're going to have this and this and this. The day of the launch, I was too excited the night before. I couldn't sleep. So I got like 2 hours of sleep. When we go to launch my book last Monday, I enter the private chat. And
I remember. Yeah.
I sent that link to everyone. I sent it to David. And I was with David, Mike Barron, and Narwhal for 30 minutes with 0 people watching. So your nightmare thing about if nobody showed up.
That is absolutely the nightmare.
But it didn't upset me. It didn't upset me, and I'll tell you why. Because the 0 was informative to me. If there were 3 people there, I'd be like, okay, well, not that many people wanted to look. But 0 just seemed not possible. I have 7,000 YouTube followers, and there are 0 people here. Like, no. There's a computer error. I made the video private, something. So I did a little investigating. Like, oh my gosh, guys, we're in the wrong show. So that was actually very hilarious. But we spent an hour talking, or a half hour talking, the 4 of us, and we all left, and then we came in, and then it was great after that. I think we raised 17,000.
You did okay.
The first day.
By Shanth standards, it wasn't great. I'm known for my but this is this is the thing though, man. This is the thing. I've got on my phone, I've got all these different CG campaigns. And I always go and check how they're doing. I feel really invested in how people are doing, when they're launching campaigns. I'm like, could I, do I've been playing a short version of everybody's trailer at the start of my streams, every stream, including a short version of yours.
Right.
And I do because I just want people to do well. I talk about, the books. And gosh, please read this because I was reading this. I love this.
Bane Muller with a great comment here. The art production was incredible in this film. It could have been a dozen different movies. Absolutely right. That's why when I was saying earlier, this is like a big melting pot, a big delicious salad with all kinds of ingredients. This movie is crazy, and I love it. I love the bravery of them making this thing, and it's totally insane, and it totally worked. I love that. Great comment. And I'm going to read this because I want to review this movie. Have you seen this movie?
Yes, I have.
I love this movie. We had like 15 movies in rotation growing up. My mother was very strict about what we watched. And for whatever reason, this was one of the movies, all 3 Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Blues Brothers, and like 3 other movies. But this is one I saw many times growing up. And I absolutely love this movie. I think Michael Douglas is fantastic. Kathleen, what's her name? Turner, Kathleen Turner. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Romancing the Stone. We will check that out. there was a little bit of a riff on Indiana Jones, I believe, a little bit,
with a little
but
bit
also
more,
a rom-com thrown in there.
yeah, a little
Right.
rom-com. And
Yeah.
this is, this is the stuff too about it. If you look at those pictures, I'm convinced that there's a handful of things that affected my taste in women. And hail to you, Teflon Ron.
Absolutely.
That affected my taste in women. One of them is the Aha music video, the comic book video, right? And my wife looks something like that girl in that. And then this movie, where Kim Cattrall, if you look at this, she's got her eyes are always a little bit red because she's wearing green contacts in this flick.
Oh, so they were irritating her eyes.
Yeah, and they were irritating her eyes. But I saw this, and I mean, I must have watched it 1,000 times on VHS. And so, of course, I'm thinking, I'm hearing over and over again, you need a girl with green eyes. So my wife has green eyes, and I'm convinced it's this movie's fault.
It's a good thing you didn't fixate on the creature.
Exactly. Well, listen, that was just one time in college.
Right. Hey, listen, they have that $5 all you can drink night,
That's right. She looked cute at that time.
Yeah, we've all taken home a humdinger at least once.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, Kim Cattrall, I actually didn't know it was her because she had this weird tendency to look different in the different movies she was in.
Sure.
And funny enough, one of my wife's favorite movies is Mannequin, which I'm always like, that's fascinating. But I will say this is that she's just like, the kind of dirty blonde hair, the green eyes thing must have clearly stuck with me. And I'm a huge, huge fan of this movie. I love it. It's one of the most quotable movies. It's got some of the best relationships between characters.
Sure.
And they're fun.
Yeah, what you were saying earlier, it has that great pattern between the characters. And there's an edge to that that's like gossamer thin, where I don't like the TV show Friends. If you like it, great. But I always thought, how the F are these people friends? They hate each other. Like they're just insulting each other constantly. But you can go right up to the line of that and tease each other, and it's cool with me. But there's another type of writing, and I consider Friends this way. Friends crosses the line of these people actually kind of hate each other a little bit. So what I liked about the pattern in this is they would give each other guff and all that, but it didn't come off as hateful to me. I don't know. What do you think of that? Do you like Friends?
I think that probably has something to do with a thing that, I had never thought about that till you just said that, but I think that has something to do with the pattern you're allowed to get away with, the back and forth lines when the stakes are that high to break the tension. When the stakes aren't high, it just gets irritating. You're like, everything in your lives is going mostly well. You apparently have the cheapest apartment in Manhattan, 3 or 4 of them. And, you live in the nicest, places, and you have pretty decent jobs, and you just can't seem to figure it out. I think that affects us differently than they've kidnapped my fiance
to sacrifice to some evil lord.
And there's different jokes, and the same thing goes, I love the line. I still tell my wife that my favorite line in this movie will always be, I don't know how many people notice this line, but after, the 3 storms are wiping everybody out and they run down this alleyway and see the Lords of Death with their cars. And they go, hey, Wang Chi, you remember us? And he's like, they know your name. This is not good. And as they're leaving the place, he goes, oh, no, it was actually right before that. He goes, all right, I'm going home. You can keep your money. I just love that line. He's just like, it's such a great flick.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of pattern back and forth, it just shows the bond between the characters. It doesn't seem hateful. I really appreciate writing like that because I think characters are so great when they arc and all this stuff, but the characters are only in relation to the characters around them. You know what I mean? Han Solo works the way he works because of Luke, and especially because of Princess Leia. Look at C-3PO's weirdo British butler nervousness, his weird uptight stuff, and then Han Solo just yelling at him to shut up. Never tell me the odds. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So yeah, I think the interplay between the characters is fantastic in this. Teflon Ron has a quick question. I don't know the answer to this. Let's see. The Beast, this horrible thing. What is there ever an explanation in the movie? Did I miss it? He says, I always wondered what that creature was supposed to be in this movie. A bad sculpt of a werewolf or some kind of rat creature. What is the context of this monster? Because it's just there.
It appears behind this demon thing where it removes the eyes, and I think it's supposed to be what that demon character what it was in real life. Yeah, there you go. I think what they were trying to do is make it look like one of those. You can look at the swoop of the mouth, like one of those guard dog kind of creatures that you see that have that particular look. I just think that it worked as a gross, creepy creature, but I think it didn't hold together as well as some of the other designs.
All right. If you haven't seen this movie yet, skip the next 30 seconds of this video. I'm serious. Ready? Okay. This monster at the end of the movie, when Jack Burton is driving away in his semi truck and all that, it's hiding in the back of the hitch where a semi hitches to the trailer, and you don't know. He's like driving along, singing. The movie's ending. He's driving down, and this stupid thing jumps out, and I jumped on my couch. It was so not fair because it didn't have anything to do with the story or anything like that. It's a great jump scare.
Yeah,
it's a great jump scare. So I love that.
I will tell you this. The way that the Jack Burton character is set up, I just love that when he tells the story at the beginning where he goes, and this guy slams the back of your favorite head against the wall and asks you if you paid your dues. Say, have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail. He says, I handle the situation.
Yeah, the narration is fantastic in this that he does at the beginning and the end. It's really cool. And I do like one thing I noticed they did in the 80s, and I noticed this in a movie we will review sooner or later, Ghostbusters.
Yes.
In the first Ghostbusters, they just start the Ghostbuster thing, and these guys are already like Ghostbusters. We don't have to delve into, and that's where I found my father's lucky pencil that made me a Ghostbuster. We don't have to do all the TED talk and the over-explaining. You're just in this reality and get used to it. And I like this movie. It's just, this is what it is. We're here. There's crazy ancient Chinese fighting gangs and magical lightning warlords. And just get used to it. I think that is definitely missing from storytelling today, where they, in the old days, again, they were just brave to throw you into these crazy worlds, and they didn't feel like they needed to explain it to you. I remember thinking that so much when I saw Ghostbusters and thinking, yeah, they're Ghostbusters. What, you got a lot of questions about that? They bust ghosts. Like, what's to wonder about? But if they made it nowadays, like for the first time, don't you think they'd have to over-explain everything?
I don't know. I think that the way that it, and you see all this, there's such great stuff. Yeah, the T-shirt was legendary, and I love the Jeremy. It's all in the reflexes. What are the all-time
right? Oh my gosh, the quotes in this movie.
Yeah, and I love when he gets out of the elevator with the lipstick all over his face.
Right.
After he's been making out, because they were joking about that he kind of made the point that they should do that because he goes, I'm kissing this woman. She is wearing this lipstick. Every time we do a take, we have to wipe me down. For the sake of comedy, it'd be a great comedy thing if Jack Burton goes to confront this villain, and right before he does, she goes and she rubs with her sleeve his face to get the lipstick off. It's hilarious. It's such a couple, builds their relationship. And the fact that he gets the girl in the end and leaves her. Whoa, that was brutal.
He's like, yeah, never mind.
Aren't you going to kiss her goodbye? Nope. I was like, dang, son. That was brutal. I would have. I'm just saying. But it's. I will say this about why there's the simplest thing in the world, and we talked about this with What If Nobody Shows Up. I looked at my wife the other day when I was working on Nosferatu, and I was saying to her, I go, this is what we do, what CG creators do is no different than that poster, which I love that poster. I got to be honest.
That might be one of Struzen's best posters.
Love it. Yeah, it just is such a great poster. And I look at it and I just go, that what we do is insane. We do this. We get out paper or files or however we create our artwork, or a mixture of all of those things. We put things together and they're crazy ideas, like this imaginative fiction, and people show up, back these books when they respond to them. But if you were to explain, when I try to think about, just explaining something like, Cyber Frog, like, I'm sorry, like, how is that not Ghostbusters? It absolutely is. Right. And I remember saying to myself when I was coming up with Nosferatu, I said to my wife, I go, I'm a guy named Shanth and Jetty, the like Afghanistan of names, like where empires go to die, or where people. When I graduated college, the guy like after an entire lifetime, the guy who read my name out at college graduation mispronounced it, right?
Ooh.
Always in my life. You know why I remember it? Because he was Indian. And I was like,
I almost spit on my computer.
I'm sorry. I was dying. I went, this is how it has to end.
Oh, you know what? I really hope he mispronounced Enjetti in a thick accent.
Oh no, it was glorious.
But what did he say?
Oh no, he said Shanth, and I was like, seriously, man, seriously. And
wow.
Like my name, for people who don't know, Shanth is a derivative of like Om Shanti. It's essentially like being named Amen. You know.
Oh, okay.
So it's like when people say, like, you know, at the end of Hindu prayers. So it was funny, but I do tell people this is that, you know, it's like the way that we come up with ideas, the way that creators imagine things, and we're lucky enough to have so many amazing creators in CG right now. I think Michael Bancroft did a great stream about this. Is that you look at this stuff and it's like we are just, you know, all of us are throwing ourselves into the deep end and trying to make things from the ground up. And you guys are here at the ground level.
Right.
And that's what, look at Big Trouble in Little China. You know, we both look at this movie. It's still going. People still want to talk about it, including us on this stream. People still want to show up to talk about it. Hail the chat.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love this quote here, kind of remarking in the same vein that you're talking about. Luda Comics. The reason why movies nowadays, I think he's talking about the over-explaining, is to shut up those critics who say, this is so unrealistic. Why are these people busting ghosts? How come ghosts exist in this universe? And it reminds me of the great Grant Morrison and his quote on the Batmobile's tires. He says, adults struggle desperately with fiction, demanding constantly that it conform to the rules of everyday life. Adults foolishly demand to know how Superman can possibly fly, or how Batman can possibly run a multi-billion-dollar business empire during the day and fight crime at night, when the answer is obvious even to the smallest child, because it's not real. Kids understand that real crabs don't sing like the ones in Little Mermaid, but you give an adult fiction and the adult starts asking really fucking dumb questions like, how does Superman fly? How do those I-beams work? Who pumps the Batmobile's tires? It's a fucking made-up story, you idiot. Nobody pumps the tires. I love that Grant Morrison quote.
It's a great... The thing that's genius about it, too, is that you are out on a limb, no reference to my tiger poster, maybe. But you are hanging there, poster. Right. You're out on a limb when you're doing this. And, you said the other night that you were echoing what I think Ethan said, which is, we'll look at our audience of people who love imaginative fiction and superheroes and love comics like we all do. We all know stories. We can all tell you where we were when we oh, I love Drew Struzan. I mean, we have some of the most intelligent conversations with our friends in the chat here. And, but what they are doing is helping to back the creation of work that we're sticking our chins out. We're hanging our chins out when we're doing this stuff. And Big Trouble in Little China to me is a triumph because it is a director in that environment where every failure can harm your career. You end up in movie prison, right? Not allowed to direct, not able to get funding.
Right.
And he just was swinging for the fences so often, and he hit more often than not. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think to echo what you're saying about sticking out your chin, our fans stick out their chins when they open those wallets and buy our books. They take a risk on us. I mean, how well do they really know me? They know my persona here. I try to be upfront. You do too. But, they'll see when they get it. And I appreciate them joining in the fight here, joining in the cause. I think that's really remarkable for them to do that. Just think about it, Sean. You put out Nosferatu, you click launch campaign, and all of a sudden people start buying your comic book, people you've never met, many whom you'll never meet. And they're like, I like this guy, Shanth. I'm going to buy his book. I believe in what he's doing. I'm going to support him. I mean, that's sticking out your chin. I think ultimately people vote with their wallets, right? So I think
they do.
What a thing to be involved in. I'm so happy.
I am too. And I'll tell you this too, is that, sorry, I got to turn the camera a little bit. It looks like I'm at a Dutch angle. Like I'm in, whatever. It's just going to be. But the thing about it is, for me, Oscar, is that I look at it like this, and I say that we're in a situation right now where a lot of us have a lot of us are in this thing where we know what needs to happen. We know we need to have, there needs to be alternative entertainment, and there needs to be independent stuff. To do said independent stuff takes a tremendous amount of work with absolutely no safety net. So you don't get the job and they say, okay, here's your paycheck. Now imagine. You go, I've got to imagine and now see if I can get anybody to back this.
Right.
Like, it is a very precarious situation for every creator. And especially when people have, all of these skills honed, there's so much pressure. And it's fine. It's great. It's great. That's what the risk you take when you do it. But I think that I look to entertainment to inspire me. I look to things like Big Trouble in Little China and the rest of you guys, because we all go through phases where it's like, we're putting our stuff out there, we're going for it, we gain more experience as we go. But what you guys are seeing is as close to the real deal with us as is possible. You know what I mean? When we're putting our stuff out there. And it's the funny part of what we do is I think a lot of our fans and our backers understand that, we do have to still put air on the tires. We do still have to do all of that stuff, but we don't want you to think about that. Our comics aren't narcissistic whinings about that aspect of our life. We put that aside to imagine and take you guys on an adventure, hopefully, and make something beautiful for you.
Yeah, very well put. I think it must be, I wonder, because I've been a professional for so long, I forget what it's like to be a fan. And I wonder what it must be like for them to watch this, to watch the evolution of our success, the evolution of our art. I wonder what that's like. I mean, the only thing I can think of is I'm a huge MMA fighting fan. I love the NFL. So I can kind of think of it that way when I'm watching my favorite players, my favorite fighters. Like right now, this guy, Islam Makhachev or Makhachev. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's a lightweight fighter, and he just beat up John Green on Saturday. It was ridiculous. I'm so excited. I saw him fight for the first time last year. I've seen him fight 3 or 4 times, and he's pummeling people, and he's going to get a title shot really soon. And it's really fun to watch a guy come up and cheer for him and watch all this stuff. And I hope that that's another part of this journey. I sound like Oprah using the word journey. Another part of this journey that's really fun for the fans. I really do feel like we're hand in hand, thick as thieves, CG creators, but also CG fans. It's just a delight to wake up every day and be involved in this. It's so cool.
It is, and I think that you guys are here at the ground level. Like, wherever it goes from here, I think about this a lot too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. I think about the fact that there were people who went to the bookstore and picked up a first printing of a book called Harry Potter. And they had no idea. There were so many books, so many children's books, so many things out there. There are people who went to the comic book store and saw this weird, couldn't fit in a poly bag, 8.5 by 11 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right.
What is this? And I have to say this too, is that, you guys are, this place is such a cauldron of amazing imagination coming together and amazingly creative people coming together. And I do think we are going to look back on this time with so much, I mean, it's awful to think this in the moment, but with so much nostalgia and so much like, oh man, you weren't there. You missed that. Oh, you didn't back that. Like, you missed that book, and sometimes I know the financial things, but I mean, sometimes like when I saw Cyberfrog for the first time, I was like, I know this is important. Like, I've got to back this book. You know what I mean? And there's just certain books that we love the creators, obviously, and they do fantastic stuff. But I felt this really, I don't know. I'm going to have to pump the brakes on backing books. I always say that. I don't think it's going to happen. But it's like this. If I have the choice to buy a Blu-ray, and I love Blu-rays. Let me be really clear, people. I love Blu-rays. I love physical media. But if I have the choice between buying a Blu-ray or backing a Comicsgate book, I'm going in that direction because for some reason, when I'm backing Comicsgate books, or not for some reason, for an obvious reason, I feel like it's more enriching to my life. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm a part of something, and I know that Blu-ray is waiting. But these things won't happen without our backers.
You made me a little sad thinking about that. It's thinking about when you were in a certain grade and you had a certain group of friends or one certain summer when you were young and you had a certain group that summer and it was
Yeah.
never again. And sometimes in life, they have that saying, you can't go back home, whatever. I know this moment right now in Comicsgate, it will end. Some of us
Sure.
will leave, some of us will stay together, but 20 years from now, it won't be the same people. It won't be the same everything. It won't be there are people I would see in my chat like 3-4 years ago when I was doing YouTube a lot more in the old days. And I miss some of them. I would see them every morning. I would do YouTube every morning. And, one day they'll just go away or whatever, and new people will come in and this and that. So I think you're right. It's very important to be super appreciative and be in the moment and realize you're in the good old days right now. You know what I mean? That's like a really important thing to appreciate that. So I try to keep that in mind,
And so
what will this be like in 10 years? Will I know you in 10 years? We don't know.
How long do you think I have left in me? Because I'm telling you, dietarily wise, if Slim Jims are the leading cause of death in my people, I don't know. But I will tell you this. This is a really good example. Like my wife, it's like I try not to tell too many embarrassingly personal things. Absolutely right. Richard Dreyfuss is narrating us at this point. But it's one of those things to where my wife is a huge fan of Wheel of Fortune, and she had this Wheel of Fortune board game that she played when she was a kid. I ordered her the most recent edition of it. And so I wrapped it up and left it out for her. So she came home, just because present, that husband thing. Right. And she opened it up and she saw it. And as she was opening up the thing, she went, I'd forgotten how much I loved this game when I was a kid. Like, it's a different version. That's why I buy comics. That's why physical comics are important to me, because I love the trade paperbacks. I got to be honest. I love me an omnibus. But every now and again, there's certain comics I want that original issue of, because it's a time machine.
Right.
It takes you back to those great times. Just like every time you snap into a Slim Jim. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, speaking of Slim Jim, I used to have a guy, and I saw him again like 2-3 weeks ago, and I've seen him since I came back to CG like twice. And his screen name was right there. It was Ethiopian Bodybuilders for Trump. The whole Jesse Smollett thing. And he would come on here and just insult me. But it was totally a joke, like wrestling, like heel versus babyface. And I had so much fun with him. And I don't know where he went, but it was really fun to see him all the time. So definitely, I think these moments are precious. I mean, Nosfero, the first volume of it, will never come out again. It'll come out once. You can reprint it, second printing, third, 100th printing. But this moment where you funded this first time, you printed it this first time, you mailed them out, like, these are amazing moments that you're going to remember when you're an old man.
Yeah, again, these guys backing Nosfero are and I'm sure you feel the same way about your backers. They're a special group, and it's like, I think about this sometimes when maybe it's the week, it's the way it is. So many people are creating, amazing books and amazing work. And it's an incredibly moving thing to see people saying, I want fiction and artwork and creativity. I want to show these studios that I can fund creativity and art. Right. That I can do a direct to the creator model. And I'm backing somebody who has, who's got these very, very particular set of skills, right? Of composing and color theory and all the things that take us a couple decades to get good at. And they're saying, they're looking over at the fans and they're looking at the corporations and they're going over to the fans and saying, I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
That's who I want to do my work for.
Yeah.
That I'm a professional. These skills are unique. Just like I can't say to my plumber, you and I are the same, right? Like, you've got a welding torch. I can grab. Of course I can't.
Right.
But the whole point of it is that they're saying, we don't need the intermediary. We don't need someone to get between our interactions and to govern our interactions.
It's so funny because it's like, oh, this is new. We're independent businessmen. And then you think of most of human history, people just worked for themselves. You were just a blacksmith or a candle maker or a baker or a farmer. Before the Industrial Revolution, you didn't really work for big companies. They didn't really exist in the way they do in the last 100 or so years. So I think this is a return to being a man and hanging your shingle out on the front of your business and saying, this is Shanth's art business. Please come in. We treat you red carpet. And I grew up in a family like that. I was, did Shanth drop out? Well, he'll come back. He knocked his camera down, but I'll keep going there. Um, I grew up in a family like that. My grandparents owned a Mexican restaurant on the Mexican side, my mom's side. My grandfather opened it after World War II, and it was customer service and all that kind of stuff. And we make the tortillas, by hand in the back, and we're making the food. And my father's a chef, and he did a lot of catering and all that stuff. And it was a family-owned business there. And my uncle's a lawyer, so he worked for himself. And my first job was mowing yards for my cousin here in San Diego, and he owned a gardening business, and he was just a high schooler, my cousin. So all the men in my family, and my aunt, she was a piano teacher. You know what I mean? That was an independent business too. So many of the people in my family, they showed me that like it's important to work for yourself, put your name on it, and have pride in it. And I'm so happy to be able to do that, and I'm so happy to have the support of you people. Let me look at this comment here. Then I'm going to get to the bottom of what happened to Shanth. I don't know if his computer exploded or what. Beard Gasmatron. Gabe, in Beef Law, you need to write a scene where the main cast is driving down the thruway and he passes the Pork Chop Express with the Chinese wild man on the back. Yeah, that's really fun. Maybe we can get as close to that as possible without infringing copyright. Absolutely amazing. American Comics Company says, currently besides tech development, there's idealistic competitive rip between cult of Neuralink tech and cyborg theology versus cerebral capacity. Superman type stuff based on historical cultural practice. I'm not sure what's going on there. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just bumped the camera, but I got it. Can you make me full screen for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
I got to show this. This is the thing. Someone said, I'm so glad that, that Sean's so passionate about comics. I think it was Aldous who said this. Guys,
right.
This right here is me at age 14 meeting my hero, Todd McFarlane. That's me meeting Todd.
You said to him, Papa, why did you go away?
No. Yeah, and now I'm having the same hairline he's having right then. But this is this guy, my hero, signing my poster. And I will tell you this, I don't try to put a lot on creators. They got a lot going on. There's things they got going on. But in this interaction with me, Todd was perfect. This is 1990, and I'm this young kid, and my hero is sitting there signing my comics, talking to me. And I'll never forget when we met him, my good buddy, Zach Cullis, was there with me. That's him in the middle. And Todd turned around at the last second, and we were so nervous about meeting him. And he goes, "Hey, guys, bunny ears on me, and I'll pretend like I don't notice."
Oh, that's fun. What a guy.
We're doing that. That's me in Atlanta, Georgia, at one of the Atlanta Comic Cons. Drove down from Chattanooga. And that is what changed my life.
Right.
And I love comics. I live for this stuff because that guy made everything. He just distilled treating the customer well. And, it's like, these movies meant everything to me. And these conversations about the movies, they were so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder sometimes, such a big part of our culture right now, Western canon. But I also think if you look historically, stories have always been how people talk to themselves about themselves, who we are, what we believe. I do feel there's a part of storytelling and creating all these adventures that's like kind of like thinking out loud and problem solving. And it's kind of like, well, I'm this, and if this happens, maybe I'll do this, but that could happen. I know I'm being a little unclear here, a little unfocused, but I do feel like stories are like a society as a hive mind thinking out loud about itself, reflecting on itself. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to love someone, to sacrifice, to be afraid and terrified, but to be brave anyway? And I do feel like there's a little, not to get too Jungian or whatever, but there's a little bit of collective unconscious going with all the entertainment, books, movies, all of it. What, do you think there's anything to that? Or am I just like, did I eat some mushrooms by accident? Or what do you think
If
about
only we did. That's why you and I should start drinking and doing drugs. There'd be at least an alibi.
Oh.
It's like, what makes you so nuts? I don't know. I'm stone cold sober, unfortunately. But this is the thing. I look at it this way, man. And you are right in certain senses. But we've been smearing sort of like pigment and things on cave walls, for as far as we know, at least 48,000 years, which is a lot. And at 48,000 years, by the way, there was already stylistic convention. which means
Right.
we've been having stylistic influence that was understood as a way of talking since then. And I know this is going to sound nuts, but I didn't know what the hell gouache was until I got to college. And I certainly didn't learn how to use it when I was in college. I had to learn afterwards because it was all about, theoretical ideas.
Right.
But when I got to the other side of that, I now feel like when I sit down to paint, I'm very moved by the fact that this tradition of illustration and painting I'm a link in the chain of it. It's very humbling, just like I am with comics. And you guys make that possible. When Gabe talks about what, this is where one of the biggest things we have in common after Van Damme
Yes.
is we both really love this country. We can speak about it unabashedly. Just we love this country, what it's about. And when I see Truth, Justice, American Way, the thing I think about is all of those experiences of having parents that come from different places and having we share all that stuff in common,
Right.
and really doing some hard thinking about why we love this country. And I think I was listening to an old this is here's what I do when I'm for those of you guys who came in a little later. We were talking about the trailer that I'm working on for Gabe, and a part of me working on your trailer was listening to an old audio recording of Teddy Roosevelt. That was what I was listening while I was working on it. And he was talking about what was it? The people, if you dangle between the extremes of either side, or you go too far into this particular thing, the French didn't listen to common sense, and now they find themselves in the middle of the Red Terror. And you go, wow, all of this stuff has been going on, but there is wisdom in the history of this country. I was listening to another talk today about, Benjamin Franklin talking. And this is the thing about this. What do the immigrants to this country say in this movie? Here's to the Army and the Navy and the battles they have won. Here's to do you know what I'm saying? Here's to the red, white, and blue, the colors that'll never run. May the wings of liberty never lose a feather. They're all united as they go to fight this ancient demon from Chinese mythology. They're drawing strength and toasting America. And he goes, wherever China's in the heart, Jack, wherever I go, she's with me. When At's told you should go visit the motherland.
Yeah.
It's the most American response in the world. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I love you talking about Teddy Roosevelt, my absolute favorite president. I don't know if you have a favorite president. I love what kind of a man he was, how he overcame heartbreak. His mother and wife died on the same day across the hallway from each other in the same house. He's an absolute badass. Check him out. This is a book I couldn't recommend more. River of Doubt by Candace Millard. I love this book so much. I just tweeted at her. I told her that was just an amazing story. It's about him and his son Kermit Roosevelt, and a Indiana Jones type explorer guy, and a general from the down there in Brazil, and them and a crew of tons of guys. They're gonna map out the River of Doubt, the Rio de Dubia, the River of Doubt in Brazil, and it's a harrowing tale of death. Roosevelt himself almost dies. It's brutal, and it's a true story, and it's written. So I recommend this book to anyone who loves learning about our presidents and all that. But Teddy Roosevelt, absolute American badass, an original American OG. He's the one that famously got shot giving a speech and finished the speech.
Yep. And this is, you said it absolutely right. And think about this, in Big Trouble in Little China, this is what we're trying to do in CG right now. This is what all of us are trying to do by backing these books and doing all this stuff. They slide open a grate, they go down into underground in San Francisco, and they have access to this underwater mythical world. It's right underneath your feet. I love that Joseph Campbell quote where he says, "We're standing on a whale fishing for minnows." And it's so true, guys. The creativity that we're manifesting here as a group of people who are motivated backers and driven creators who are willing to put in the time and work to get out there and to make manifest this thing. If you guys don't show up to back the books, And if we don't know how to make the books to a quality that merits you backing them, and if we don't show up for these streams, this whole thing goes away. But that's
Right.
always been the case. If people don't go buy movie tickets, it's the case. If people
Right.
don't show up at the comic shop, it's the case. And I don't think people understand people who are merely, trolling, social media, the people that aren't even worth mentioning. They don't know that level of commitment that it takes
Absolutely
to
not.
actually build something.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you, as someone that worked in the mainstream for a long time, all you got to do is get your skills up and then be reliable-ish, and then you can just cruise for decades in that business. Just don't rock the boat. But there isn't any real creativity there because I always forgot, because I worked at Wildstorm in the studio for 3 years, and it felt like family. We'd have birthday treats once a month. We'd go to lunch together. Jim Lee would take everyone to this great brewery restaurant called Carl Strauss, was like 2 blocks from Wildstorm.
Yeah.
So if we had a special occasion or a new hire, we'd all go eat there. And it felt like family. But you forget, dude, it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
It's, CNN. It was America Online. It was, and you forget this is a giant soulless Hollywood company, and it ain't about creativity. It's about money, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I think here we're free. We're free to be gonzo. Like, look at this weird. I forgot about the eyeball monster.
Yeah, it's like the Beholder from D&D.
Right. One of the best designs for a monster, by the way, the Beholder. But yeah, and you look at the juxtaposition of the different locales here. The underwater sewer entrance, saving all those women that were prisoners, just back on the streets of San Francisco. This sort of crazy creativity, it's much more easily possible with you guys here in CG.
Yeah.
So again, a million times thank you. I love this because when you're working in the mainstream, like Aaron LaPresti said the other day, I was on a stream with him, and he was I think it was Kings on Monday, and he was saying, like, you pitch this stuff to Marvel and DC, and they're like, nah. And he pitched Wraith of God to them. It was a Ghost Rider story, I guess, or something like that. And they're just like, And then now look at it. Now it's very successful. I'm sure there'll probably be a sequel if he wants to. I don't know what he wants to do next. But I have pages I was working on today. So again,
they're beautiful.
We're in this space creatively as artists where this is all you want. All you want is to be able to be that little Shanth again, who was 4 years old with his pencils and his crayons, who just was drawing what made him happy. And then you went and showed an adult and it made them happy. We're doing the same thing here, guys. We're drawing stuff and writing stuff that makes us really happy and excited and uplifted and thrilled. And then we show it to you guys. And you guys are like, wow, that's awesome. What a great, pure relationship. I love it.
Yeah, and I think the thing about this movie that's so beautiful, which is that what I always say is there's only two things you have to look out for in life, and you'll be okay. And keep one around you and keep the other away from you. The biggest one is the crabs in a bucket thing. The people who are sitting back and pointing out, just exclusively, well, you notice what this person did, what this person did, what this person did. It's very different than looking at something and talking about it, whatever. What we're talking about. This sort of the Twitter nonsense to this. People who are actively trying to tear people down and not putting the energy into making things. The thing you want to keep around you is people with respect for the history and where it all came from. So in this movie, there's a great reference to the Jewish immigrant, which we have more than our fair share of amazing Jewish immigrants in comic books and creating the history of comics.
Sure.
But named Carl Laemmle Sr. And Carl Laemmle came to this country and founded Universal Studios. And so when he says they showed up at Lem Lee's funeral, a pun, making it a rain, that was a reference to Carl Laemmle. And the fact that it's called the Wing Kong Exchange, way it's shaped, you can look at it certain scenes, it clearly is in the font of King Kong. And so those are all references to the history of Universal Pictures by someone who is a fanatic like myself of Universal monsters and the creativity that came from Phantom of the Opera, the silent era. And I love it. I love comics history because it matters to me. It really matters.
Yeah, well, without it, we're not here. We're standing on the shoulders of giants.
You got it.
Everyone talks about that. And I do think that's why we can tell stories bravely because we're following in that tradition that was shown to us, where
Mm-hmm.
if you're an artist and you're pure in your craft and
Yeah.
your only intention when you make this is to make the best art possible, music, cooking, whatever, drawing, story writing, and you just, what you focus on emotionally is the tenets of art and how art is produced, you
Mm-hmm.
can't lose if you stick to it long enough. If you start infusing diversity, quotas, and all this nonsense, you're going to break the art. You're going to break the story because you're not doing it to make good art. You're doing it to be congratulated and be called a hero. And I was talking about this earlier today on a stream,
Mm.
that new woke Lord of the Rings, where they have that big fat black lady's a dwarf or whatever.
Mhm.
The reason that's no good is because Lord of the Rings is a fake European history. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And I think it's racist to put her in there, because what that tells me is that you're saying that black people in their heritage and their past and their traditions, their legends, their folklore, that they don't have anything worth turning into TV shows. That's what
I
you're
also would
saying
say
when you have to put
we
her on a white story like that.
it's the weirdest story to begin with, and it makes sense in its own way. This is the weirdest thing about this bizarre phenomenon in culture. The thing is so absurd. If you change, it's like going into an airplane engine, not knowing a thing about it, and saying, "I'm just going to remove this bolt. What could go wrong?" And they like Lord of the Rings should not exist. If
It's
you
very weird.
explain that to somebody who, let's talk about Harry Potter too. Well, there are these muggles. Get the fuck out of my face. People who don't like fantasy, that is their reaction. They're like, what is this crap? There are Wookiees? Get away from me, you
Right.
weirdo. Like,
Right.
and we do things like it's not enough that we create these freaking ridiculous ideas. And Jordan, by the way, thank you for backing my book this week. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is the thing that I can't overstate. That that it's I'm basically walking a tightrope on fire, being shot at, and someone is like, "What if I gave you a different shoe on your other foot?" And you're like going, "Do you see what I'm doing right now? I just feel like you should have a pair of pumps and sneakers, so all shoes are represented." And you're going, "I'm going to die
Right.
because I'm
Right.
already
Yeah.
doing this insane thing."
Yeah. Speaking of Nosfero, that you got another backer. Yeah, I know you were about 2 weeks ago. You were trying to crack 300 backers and crack 20,000.
I can't even believe it.
Hail to that. That is awesome, man.
I
So,
am beyond grateful, guys, and my family is beyond grateful. I
yeah.
This is Nosfero isn't a dream, because I will say this one thing: the dreams that I had as a kid were not the result of the kind of play and the kind of mastery that you get from when you don't have the expectation of play. It takes a lot of work to be loose and creative the more skills that you have.
Right.
So for me, I always say this is the very best I can do right now. And do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't go
Right.
beyond this. I've never been this good in my life. And I have to say, to the Ragu Overlord, excellent backing, Truth, Justice, American Way. I backed all 3 covers. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited about that book. Yeah,
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah, but I feel like Nosfero is like this. Nosfero's
It's
insane.
very much. Yeah.
It's totally insane, this story, and it works.
I'm
Everything
painting
I've
a girl with green eyes. Legit.
Right. But it's a mixture of genres. It's that pure childlike wonder of that creativity that Shanth had when he was a little guy. That's what you guys are financing. That's just so beautiful. That's so amazing that you guys are doing that. And then you guys can reciprocate on the other end when you consume it, when you get it, when you watch it and all that. You're childlike again, and you're just there filled with that glorious, pure. It's just pure. It's so pure and innocent, that wonder you have when this stuff just thrills you and inspires you. So I think really, I don't know if it's an accident or it was just bizarre coincidence, but the formation of like this counterculture movement that we're in is just such a, again, to go back to what I was saying earlier, we're going to look back and say, wow, the good old days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if this thing goes the way it's heading, we're all going to be very, very successful. And as things get more successful, they get a little more corporate and a little more detached. I mean, if there's a Nosfero TV show and a cartoon and figures, it gets a little more detached. You know what I mean? So these are just amazing times, you know? I don't know.
It's a living art that's coming from people who have life experiences, and that's what's great. They've had, when I was thinking about, oh, what should I call my show? I was like, Bancroft has got this really cool thing, and I feel like it should be natural. And I started calling
Right.
it the Waffle Lodge. I actually, because I used to go to Waffle House and during lunch breaks at my school, and then at night at 2 a.m. we would go there. And those experiences of going places like that, and
Uh,
talking comics and things like that, that's a part of it. And when I see movies like Big Trouble in Little China, I go, oh wow, more skilled, more professional, brilliant artists who are further along, hey, they've had those experiences too. Those where you were
yeah.
playing, a game, maybe it was D&D when I was a kid, and the sun is coming up, and you're like, all right guys, we got to pack this in. That's the opening of the movie.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? We still haven't done this. It's like, come on, it's it's the morning.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here.
Absolutely. I love these two comments are kind of bookending. I already posted it, but almost every culture has some sort of mythology and mythos that could be adapted in amazing modern storytelling. Again, that's why we don't need to do the diversity inclusion. We can go get these stories from their cultures instead of slapping minorities on top of white stories. So you make minorities better by erasing white people? That just doesn't even make sense. It's so bizarre. The analogy I like to think of is like, you own McDonald's, Shanth, and you just opened, but things are going good. You've got 5 hamburgers on the menu, and there you got beef burger, you got a cheeseburger, you got a double cheeseburger, you got a Big Mac, and then something else, quarter pounder, but they're all beef. Fries, Coke. You are doing gangbusters business. Some diversity person comes along to you and says, your menu's not diverse, Shanth. You need a fish sandwich. Now, the logical reaction to that is, oh, you're right. Some people like fish. Let me add a fish sandwich to the menu, see how it sells. The SJWs, what they do is they take away all the beef and turn it into all fish sandwiches. And then you go out of business because you destroyed the thing that was already working. Why not just add new stuff?
It's that episode of Seinfeld.
Oh,
with the Pakistani guy. Do you remember that?
Babu.
Yeah, with the Pakistani guy.
Jenny.
Very bad people. He goes in there, says, "Why are you selling Italian food? Wasn't it Italian food? You should be serving, food from your own culture." He's like they mocked this stuff back then, and then he goes out of business,
right?
Because nobody wants to buy that stuff. People want what he had on the menu,
right?
And and they mock that aspect of it. And there was another one you wanted to read. Sorry.
Yeah, and this is the bookend to that. He's teasing me because I'm half Mexican or whatever. You should tackle a chupacabra story because that's Mexican mythology, and don't think I wouldn't consider it. I would love. I don't know. I'm not connected to my Arab heritage because the evil socialist dictator would have probably murdered me and my dad if we showed our faces there. Because my dad was opposing him in college, and Gaddafi did kill my grandfather and kill some of my dad's friends. So I'm not connected to my heritage, and that's heartbreaking. And it's a weird kind of sadness for me because I don't know how to be sad about it because I'm so detached from those people. I wonder what it would be like to sit around a table with them and like, oh, I look like that uncle, or to have birthdays with them and sing songs and what's the family joke and what's the nickname for this cousin. And I don't know these people. I know my family in Libya about as well as you people do. It's heartbreaking. So I would love to mine that for a project someday. I want to interview my dad when I go visit him this spring and just talk to him about his life so I can write something about it. You know what I mean? It's a way for me to understand myself better. But definitely, you can't make the Black Dwarf in Lord of the Rings. Go find awesome Black folklore and turn that into a story. Do that and quit being lazy.
And the reason why, and I also have to point this out because this is sort of important too. This show is predicated on a love, and I'm not, take it however you want. The heart wants what it wants, but this show is predicated on the love of a white guy from Belgium. All right, so this is this show is the love of Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, right? But here's the deal: you've got somebody who is, I guess, half Libyan, half Mexican. Is that correct?
That's about it. It's more complicated than that, but basically the Mediterranean. I'm Mediterranean, basically.
Okay. And then you've got me, and I am 1/4 Austrian, 1/4 Puerto Rican, and half South Asian Indian on the same show. And we're telling you guys, this diversity stuff is nuts.
Right.
We've take it from us. We are, this is crazy.
We're almost the United Nations here, the two of us.
We just want to talk about Van Damme movies, Big Trouble in Little China. And I look at this stuff, and this is when people ask, why don't they do that with these stories? Because here's the thing. you guys are paying us and crowdfunding en masse our work so that we can do this work because it is they don't do what we're doing and you guys appreciate it because it's insanely hard work to come up with your own stuff. It's
Right.
easier to do someone else's idea and it's hard to they're like, well, what if someone accused me of being racist? What if someone accuses me of being sexist? We go, fuck them. Our backers have our back.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Our backers are backing us for a reason and we've got to bring the goods.
Well, William 03, they'll still call us all racist Nazis. Wear it as a badge of honor, friend. You're a backer financially, but you're a backer in a friendship, moral way. You got our back. And I sacrificed my job at Warner Brothers, making a ton of money. Easy. I could have stayed there. So I have your back. Actions speak louder than words. You guys saw me do it. I said they want to make this garbage and hurt American culture, not even just American, Western culture. What Superman and heroism means to people and all that. They want to do that. I said, do it without me. You will not put my name on that shame. No way. Yeah. I'm not breaking the chain. After what my dad went through with Gaddafi, after what my grandfather went through, my mom, my grandma, what all of your parents, and not just mine, your family, Shanth's family, everybody, suffering, dying, struggling, poverty, warlords, tigers. The history of humanity is brutal and sad and amazing, and it's everything. I will not put my name on that shit and ruin it. No way.
Yeah, when somebody calls you that, also say, I'm sorry, I'm not the socialist. Are you? Because that's a shorthand for. The National Socialist Party of Germany. So yeah, just when someone says that to you, go, I'm sorry, I'm not a socialist. I don't believe in taking the Gustav Klimt's work in the wealthy Jewish community that was living in Germany and redistributing it to the state of Germany, which were the Nazis at that time. Right. I actually think that the people who owned beautiful portraits of their own family members should have been allowed to keep them and not have their businesses, work, and labor seized. Period. Right. Full stop.
Absolutely.
And I have a bench in my house that is that was gifted to me. That is was by a friend of mine. It was from her mother. That is furniture from two people who were Holocaust survivors. So I think about all this stuff a lot, and not as much as someone. Not saying because I own this settle that I somehow have some connection. I do not. But I'm saying let me full stop that. But when somebody uses that term, they don't even know what it stands for. They need a history lesson. You know what I mean? They need a trip to a Holocaust museum and they'll be ashamed to say that. Shoot, they might even need to just watch Schindler's List. You know what I mean? They probably haven't even done that much research.
Right.
Lazy insulting, but it is what it is.
I do think that a lot of the woke people are victims of our own success as Westerners. Western society is the most developed, most successful, most abundant society in the recorded history of the world. And what do we know about spoiled children who are handed things?
Yep.
If you don't bleed for something, you don't appreciate it. It's almost humanly impossible to appreciate things you don't bleed for. It's possible if you're raised correctly and you're given your own hard work to simulate that suffering, to get that suffering in you and make you understand where things come from. But I do think why you have a lot of these woke, college-educated liberals is because it's just too much, too easy, and they don't appreciate, they don't grasp that it took a lot to get us here and a lot of actually just terrifying suffering. They don't see it. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't remember it. So I do like Wee Lamb 03 saying, look, this is beautiful to me. This brings a tear to my eye.
Mm-hmm.
A Vietnam War refugee. And I bet you love it here in the West, friend.
Yep.
And maybe you're still in Vietnam, but it's more westernized and you love what that's done for your people. And you guys have a beautiful culture too, from what I know. It would be amazing to see a Vietnamese story. I want to see all these stories, like the depth of humanity from around the world. It would be amazing to see all these stories. Some of my favorite people, being a San Diegan, my very best friend in the world, we met in 4th grade because I had to show him where the bus was. He's a Filipino guy.
Yeah,
and Shanth, you love the Filipinos. I'm an honorary Filipino. They won't make me a full one because I'm very tall. Yeah. But I love the Filipino people. They're so family-oriented and just the big laughing, crazy parties. It's always these big buffet garage parties. And I would love to see their folklore because I really admire them. They're some of my favorite people.
My buddy Arvin does stuff on it.
No more forced diversity. Let's get the real diversity if we want to see it.
The two of my favorite left-handed artists are Dave Stevens and Todd McFarlane. But my favorite left-handed artist is Manny Pacquiao.
Hey, what a
Yeah.
way to turn a phrase there.
Yeah, that's how it is, you know. But I want to say too that there's two movies. We talk about movies sometimes, okay? In CG, can we make movies? No, I mean like in terms of CG. The two low budget movies,
right?
See us make in CG. One would be about a chupacabra. The other one would be about the Jersey Devil. I think we could do a super low budget with the talent we have here for enough special effects. If we could get a good script and good storyboarders, we could crowdfund enough easily to make a good low budget movie. The trick would be is building the trust, right? Is people making sure they can deliver the work. And you know what's funny is when people say, when are we going to, fund the first movie? When people stop crowdfunding movies and then not making them. Do you know what I mean? Like CG is successful because you guys hold the books. You always know the books are coming, even when they're late. There's very few exceptions where there's a book. No, but seriously, like nobody's like, if he's really not going to finish Cyberfrog 2, he's taken this way too far. Continuing to draw it, clearly, paying Kyle Ritter, it's going to be a great book. And the same thing goes with all this stuff. But I have stacks of my CG books here. And like, we have one of the best track records of people getting money that there's no obligation to do this stuff, just raw drive and work ethic. We want you guys to have this stuff. It is a miracle to me of transaction, just like eBay is. It's a miracle of transaction. People predicted eBay would fail because you couldn't trust a stranger to ship you stuff. And what they found is it matters to people how their reputation as selling products is important. And was it Jordan Peterson said, if you have like a 95 or 92% on eBay, you probably have killed people. Like something really funny like that. But CG, which has got so many more moving parts, we get our books out, we do.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's just such a beautiful thing. I wanted to jump back on the Filipino thing. Some of my favorite people. This is my all-time favorite comic book artist.
Nice.
His name is Nestor Redondo. He has since passed away, and he did a ton of work for DC. You see Rima the Jungle Girl in the bottom left there. I found an original run of that at San Diego Comic-Con like 10 years ago. I have it over there in my huge collection.
Can you zoom?
I can zoom on this, but it was already pretty small to begin with.
Okay.
So it's going to pixelate real fast. But I grabbed some big ones. When you look at his work,
guys,
the way he uses like Albert Durr etching, the way he uses negative space and all that, I don't know what it does to me, but something about my dopamine response to his work is just, it's on another level. I found his work in those DC digests of like House of Secrets and House of Mystery, the old horror books. But the way he uses like negative space on that incense burner there, you see how he's reversed because of the flame. I can't get over that. And this is just complete artistic freedom because the eyes of Hollywood were not all over this stuff. Again, look at the drapery here between the knees and the negative space there. I love that so much. The way he uses the negative space to define the highlight. You guys are giving us the freedom to try and be like this guy, to try and be like Todd McFarlane for Shanth, to really just reach for this stuff.
Dare to be great. That's what the name of the game is. Dare to be great. And I'm telling you guys, what is that? There's this quote. What is it? He who dares something. I'm trying to remember the finishing of that quote. But this is the thing about it for me, guys. I wake up every morning. I go to my drawing board, and one of the things I frequently say is, I love art so much. I love painting. I love sharing this stuff with you guys. Yeah, and I'm working on the narwhal piece that I've got to sign it still. I'm still just staring
can we
at
see it. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I have. Let me see if it'll focus in on it here. But I needed to get that. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can do this real quick.
Damn it, you're setting the bar high because I'm doing a Nosferatu too.
You got to, man.
Nosferatu. He hired me to do a pinup for that one too.
It's 100 years, man. This is a big deal. And so this, if I can get this off to the side right there, this is a look at the piece, right? And I'm thinking about the way the colors in the smoke melt down, the way that all my nightgowns are transparent. Just deal with it, guys. That No Sparrow is a parade of transparent nightgowns.
Right.
For anybody on the fence about backing it, but this is the stuff that I just there you go. You can see the color a little better there, but this is the
Right.
stuff that I live for when I'm working on it. You know, it's like, how can I make? God, my brush is just like losing air there. But how can I take this painting and then get the blues and the warms and the cools into this and make it happen? And it's the same thing, you know, when I'm working on, you know, No Sparrow, and I think you've probably seen this one, but when I'm putting in
Look at
all
that.
those details that give it, like with the swamp tree there, that give it that immaculate reality that just
Hey,
puts that you in that world, you know, and
let me
locates you.
let me talk to you're 45 now.
Yep.
You met McFarlane in 90, so 22 years or 32 years ago.
Yep.
So let me talk to the 12-year-old Shanth really quick. I
Yeah,
want to
sure.
tell him, hey, 12-year-old Shanth,
Yeah,
you did it.
I know.
You did it.
I
You're
think
a
about it
real
every day.
you're a real comic book artist. You were
Yep.
12 years old, seventh grader, probably afraid to talk to girls, but you did it anyway because that's what we do.
Oh yeah.
And you did it, buddy. You worked hard. You did it. Be proud of that. What an amazing
I am,
thing.
man. I will tell you this is that I had two dreams that I, you know, accomplished. When I was 14, I set out two dreams. One was to see a whole boob because, you
All
know,
right.
everyone could see the top.
Right.
I
Yeah.
realized early on, right? The other was to get professionally published in comics. So a small publisher called First Light that Andy Smith did the cover to helped me accomplish the comic dream at 17. And when I was 15, I'd like to thank the Girls Preparatory School of Chattanooga, Tennessee, for helping me to accomplish the other one.
Right.
And the thing about it for me is that when I think about making artwork, yeah, that's right. And oh, geez, you guys, but it's one of those things to where is No Sparrow the guy? No Sparrow is the guy slaying the vampires. So I wanted to do a name that was a reference to our kind of Western vampire history.
Right.
And I thought, I'm going to take this crazy word that's copyright, you know, free for all intents and purposes, that has this connection. And I like the idea of, I created this sort of kaiju Hulk character a while back called Furos. And I liked the idea of fire, fury, night, you know, words that kind of mean things that are cool. Then I looked up, and there are the two parts of that I guess it's one of the Slavic languages, can actually mean iron nose or nose iron. And I went,
Okay.
he's got metal through his nose. This is perfect. So it's just
Right.
one of those creative, fortuitous things, you know?
Amazing. Just amazing. So your two goals
hmm
to become a professional comic artist and to see a boob. Let me talk to 12-year-old Shanth again. Listen, buddy, you
Yeah.
made it as a comic book artist, but I got really great news.
Great news. That's right.
I got great news about the boobs.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You get to see them. And hold on. They're awesome. So
They're real. They're fantastic. But but look at this, Gabe. How do you, like, some people who are you know, the people who are the crabs in the bucket see this stuff and they're just so angry at great art because it's not them. I see this stuff as like air to me. I wake up in the morning, someone shows me great artwork and I go, this is the best world to be living in, where I can know this person exists.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Nobody's having more fun than us. I'm serious.
Nobody. We're having a great time.
No, it was an honor to work in the mainstream. It really was, to work on world famous heroes and be paid well. I was very proud of that. My parents were proud of me.
And you should be.
Yeah.
You should be proud of that.
But, you know, they took a left turn at Albuquerque, and I said, you know what? This is my stop, guys. I will see you on the flip side, kids. And hopefully they pull up. You know, they haven't hit the ground yet. They're flying straight down, and hopefully they'll pull up in time. We need to send them many messages from Admiral Akbar telling them it's a trap, and then they all have to
I mean,
up.
from your lips to God's ears, you know. I mean, it's. I will tell you this, is that, you know, the history of art and the history of comics has taught us, right, that that none of these things last forever, but they do eventually. All the great ideas become absorbed into the Western canon, and I think the
Right.
legacy of DC Comics will be one such thing, beyond copyrights, beyond other things like that. There's some great characters there, but I
Right.
do think that people are starved for good work that gives them something a little bit different. Like I love Zach's analogy. We're not the McDonald's, we're the hot dog stand.
Right.
You know, when you feel like mixing it up and getting to know the person who makes the hot dogs and saying, "Hey, how you doing, man? How things going?" That's who we are. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that was a great discussion. I mean, should we call it a show or do we have more
You got to
here?
rest that voice so that we'll see if there's any questions for us before we split. Any questions about any thoughts on Big Trouble in Little China? You guys want to end with any questions to us about the books? I do have to say I was a 115-pound Asian kid. That's better than me. I was a 98-pound half Asian kid. So you had me beat there.
Well, hold on. What he didn't say is he was 3 years old at the time when he was 115 pounds.
Right, and I was 16.
Big. He was a big fella.
That's right.
This channel needs more views. Hey, man, it's coming. We don't worry about it. We build it a day at a time. And I think Ethan is on against us right now. I think right when I was sending you the link, Shanth, I got a message from Ethan said, I'm going live. So I know, hey, he's got a really popular channel, sucks up a lot of the audience. That's fair. Fair is fair. I'm willing to compete. We build our audience. And
and people catch these streams after the fact too, which is great.
Yeah. And when I was coming on this show with you, he sent me the link to go to his channel.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, I won't be on his tonight. I'll be on mine because we need to talk about this great thing. So thank you all. Please, there's a link at the top of the chat. There's not a link in the description. I'll throw it in after the show. To please go and back. Truth, Justice, American Way.
Absolutely.
We cracked 31,000 almost, guys.
Congratulations, man. Let's see. We're almost there. Oh, guys, come on. We're at 39.17. We're so close.
Yeah, we need $83 to crack. If anyone here wants to do it, I'll hang out for 5 more minutes. But no, kidding. But let's see. Here we go. Bainmiller, glad I checked you 2 live and said, oh, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, hit the like, share. If you can't buy my book tonight, can you do this? Share the link of my book out. Share Nosfero out. I'll put the links for both of those in the description. I'll put it in the chat right now. Here we go.
Yeah, and let me tell you guys this is yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. This is the thing about it too, guys, is that all of the stuff that we make, all these videos, all this content that we make, a lot of people catch these streams after the fact. And the more of us that are out there and the more they see us, Gabe and I have this really, we're doing what Michael Bancroft and all those great artists are doing. I know Michael's got a stream right now at 11 that he's launching. The biggest thing is we put more stuff out there. The more we put out there, the more our chances are that somebody who might not check it out but loves Big Trouble in Little China might show up.
Right.
We're just trying to make sure that we grow this amazing thing that we're doing.
Okay. Well, next week should we do another? Should we do Showdown in Little Tokyo?
Let's do that because I love that movie.
Oh, for those of you out there, watch Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Yeah.
Careful. There are boobs in it. So, but yeah, definitely watch it. It's Dolph Lundgren, Brandon Lee, rest in peace, and Tia Carrera. Was that her name?
Tia Carrera and a body double. And you got a super chat there too. There you go.
Oh wow. Why Lamb? $5. Thank you. And you say not much? No. You don't owe me a penny, man. I'm so appreciative of that. I know money's tight for all kinds of people. Inflation, crazy. I feel a tank of gas was $60 in San Diego last week when I got it.
Oof.
So graciously say thank you for the $5. I hope you really enjoyed the show.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for telling us, giving us a glimpse into you guys' experiences. I meet so many amazing people here, and with whatever else is going on in the world, this is this little bit of sanity. This is this little bit of fun sanity where we get to come together and go, oh yeah, this is why we do what we do. This is why we get up and go to work. Is because there's a lot of great people out there who love all this stuff just as much as we do. Thank you, guys.
I'm not quite done yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great statement there, but I have one more thing I forgot I wanted to show you.
Yeah. Let's do it.
There's horrific stuff, Ukraine, Russia. We all know it's not a joke. It's not funny. And the first thing to die in a war is the truth. That's the old saying, right?
Mhm.
And the first night of all this ugliness starting, I saw on the news there's a Ukrainian fighter pilot, Ace. He's shooting down all the Russian planes. And to me, it's like this is obvious propaganda because everything's a lie. I don't know if it happened or didn't. But one of my favorite guys, AJ Cortez on Twitter, he will get you in shape. He's a bodybuilding advice guy. You can buy his workout plans. AJ Cortez posted when they do the Netflix special describing the Ghost of Kiev, this is what will be coming out in 2023.
That's right.
So
Absolutely. Well, it was. I had the funny my experience with this story that was the funniest was I said to my wife, I go, there's I know a little bit about Ukraine politics. One of my because I'm a huge boxing fan. It's like one of my favorite fighters I think was involved in politics somewhere in Ukraine. And then I looked it up. I was like, and she goes, really? Like I said, yeah, he's been punched in political rallies. And she's like, well, does he do anything? And I looked him up and I went, oh, Vitaly Klitschko is the mayor of Kiev.
really?
So yeah, and
wasn't he heavyweight champion of the world like 5 years ago?
He fought Lennox Lewis, and it was stopped on a cut. And a lot of people say he might have beat Lennox. And his younger brother is Vladimir Klitschko, and Vladimir has gone back there too as well. Those guys are credit to the sport of boxing, guys.
Right.
So and we want to say, yeah, absolutely. And David, I'm loving your stuff, man.
Right. And just so you guys all know, David is the masterful co-creator story. Mm-hmm. He came to me with this idea, Truth, Justice, American Way. I'm so proud to be involved. And these are his gorgeous pencils and Gary Martin's inks and my super gorgeous colors.
Absolutely right.
But no, what an inspiration. He's a relentless taskmaster. He's always pushing me to be better and better and better. And I was talking about it yesterday. I was like, oh, man, you were so hard on me. And he said, you remember that scene in Unbreakable where the kid's in the basement with his dad lifting weights and he keeps adding weight and adding weight? He's like, that's what I'm doing to you. And when he told me that, I wasn't upset anymore. I was like flattered. Like, wow, you believe in me, man. A master, a ninja of art like you believes in me enough to just keep pushing me and pushing me forever. So thank you so much, David Williams. So guys,
as the universe is what it is, I want to tell you this, Gabe. Look into my eyes, read my eyes as I say this. Unbreakable was not the movie that I was almost hired to do the credits for.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, that's a good callback to like the beginning.
I just want to just throw that at you.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, I mean, just look at this, and let me I didn't pitch my book today. We were talking about the movie so much. You know this book. You've read this book for years. This is exactly what you think it is, only to an even higher standard. This is the Batman animated series where kids can love it and adults can love it. This is action and adventure. This is the joy that I have when I talk about art with Shanth here and how touching it is. Like YLAM03 telling me that he's a Vietnamese immigrant. Like that just touched my heart so much, how we're all talking about how much we love Western culture and we love our country here, America, and all that. This book is just celebrating all of that freedom you've given David and I to just stretch ourselves out as artists, to be 5-year-old kids drawing again. It's absolutely fantastic. I couldn't be more proud to be involved with this. This is what it's all about. It's crazy, it's fun, it's exciting, it's uplifting. So please check out this book. Back it at the highest level you can. And if you can't back it, click the link, copy the link, and send it to someone you know who loves this kind of stuff. If you've got a friend ever that's complaining to you about woke anything, send them this.
Absolutely.
This is how we win. We don't win by fighting with these people so much. We win by making the good art, showing it to everyone, showing them why it's important and needs to be fought for. This is how we win. So thank you all. Any closing words, Sean? This time I won't keep it going.
No, it's fine. Bless you all. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys next week, God willing.
All right. Showdown in Little Tokyo next week. Good night.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.